And that's it. Everything is done. We restored our files the same way they were, and we installed Nextpose on Kali 2016. What we've seen so far is some scary stuff. We can create a backdoor that is not detectable by any antivirus, and then we can deliver it in ways that the target person will not even need to interact, or they'll be fooled into running the file because they're already downloading a file and expecting an executable. So in today's video, we're going to have a look on how you can prevent that from happening to you. The first thing, make sure you're not being man in the middle. So this is huge, because if you're being man in the middle, chances are you're going to get hacked, because we've seen in the network section how easy it is to hack someone if you're the man in the middle. So use a tool like XARP or use static ARP tables. Don't use networks that you don't know or don't trust. This way you can kind of increase your confidence into your network and into the fact that you're not being man in the middle. Another security precaution is always make sure you're using HTTPS. So even on download pages, on the download link itself, make sure it's a HTTPS link, it's not a HTTP. If it's a HTTPS, then we won't be able to hijack it and backdoor it on the fly. The updates is the same. If the updates are coming from a HTTPS website, then we won't be able to hijack them and make fake updates. Another tool that could be very useful is a tool called WinMD5. Now, every file that is created has a signature, so you can generate a signature for any file. And usually when you download the program, the website that allows you to download that program will also give you a signature or a checksum of that file. So if the file gets modified, such as the way we did in Backdoor Proxy, so if it gets modified on the way, the MD5 checksum will change as well, because it's calculated from the file and it's a one-way function, so it can't actually be decrypted. So if anybody modifies the file as it's being downloaded or as it's being delivered to you, the MD5's checksum will change, and this way you'll know that someone tampered with this file, and this file is not the original file that you're supposed to receive. This works into many cases and into many scenarios, and it's a very important concept that you need to know. So using the tool is very simple. Now there's tools for Linux and for Windows to do that. You can literally just download the tool and run it. And once you download the tool, you can go on the browse. It doesn't need to be installed. And when you go on the browse, it'll allow you to select a file. And once you do that, then it'll give you the signature of that file. So I'm actually going to select the download file for the tool itself. And if we compare the signature with the signature that they're giving us here, you'll see that it's identical, which means the tool has not been modified as it was downloaded from their website. If you do the same with any file that you download, then you'll know that the file has not been modified and therefore it hasn't been backdoored. So if there's a file in the backdoor, then the backdoor existed on the website where you downloaded it from. So the website itself was serving you a backdoor. In this video, I'd like to show you how to target a person. So we're going to start with literally just a name, just a person's name, and then we'll see how we can gather information about that person and then build up an attack strategy as well. And as we do that, I'm going to show you some more features of Maltego and how to configure a few more settings. So I'm going to start a new graph by clicking on the plus sign right here. I'm going to look for personal, and I'm going to look for a person. And right here we have a person entity. Now, as I said in this example, I'm going to assume that I have a target and I know their name. I know their first name and their second name. And again, that target is me, and my first name is Zaid and my second name is Sabi. So I'm going to go here on the property list. I'm going to set the first name, just double click it. I'm going to set it to Zaid. And then I'm going to set the surname to Sabi. And I'm just going to set this to capital. Doesn't really matter, but it just looks better. Now, let's see what information can we gather about this entity. Again, as usual, all we have to do is just right-click it and see what we can get. So I'm already in the Patirva category. And I'm going to go to all transformers. And you can see we can get associated emails. We can transfer that we're already a person. We can try to get a phone number. We can try to get a Twitter account. You can try all of these. For now, I'm going to try to get a website or websites for this person. Now, this is going to ask you if you want to look for a specific domain name. I'm going to assume that I know nothing. So I'm just going to put a space in here in both entries. So that just means look up for any websites that are associated with this person. Now you can see that we managed to get a number of websites right here. And all of these websites are associated with Zaid Sabi. Now that doesn't really mean that these websites are actually associated with your target, because there could be another person named Zaid Sabi. So you'll have to go on each one of these and see which one is actually related to that person. For example, if we click on the Facebook here, I'm going to double click it to see what information is there. And I'm going to go on the properties. And you'll see that we have the Facebook URLs that are associated with that person, with that name. Now I'm going to copy all of these and I'm just going to put them in a text file so we can read them better. And you can see we have 3 profiles. Now, in a real life situation, you should be going into each of these profiles and see which one is actually related to your person. I'm not going to do that because the 3 of them are actually not related to me at all. So this is really not useful, and you'll just move in this case, you'll just come back, move into the next entity and see what's useful. And I highly recommend you delete the ones that are not useful because they'll just make it harder to look through things. So you can just click it, press delete, and that'll delete it for you. Now the LinkedIn profile right here, again, you can double click it and see which profile it links you to. But again, it's not my own profile, and you can see that once you actually go to the URL. So for now, I'm just going to delete that. And you can see the rest of the stuff in here is actually all related to me. So it's all related to your target. And you can try and double click each one of them, go to the properties, look for the URL and open it in your browser. When you do that, you'll get the information that's related to that person. And hopefully it'll help you to form some sort of an attack strategy or help you get even more information. For now, because I've already looked on all of them, I'm going to focus on one of them, which is the Udemy link. So the information related to me on Udemy. I'm going to double click this like we did before. And I'm going to go on properties. And you can see that we have a URL or a description here. I'm going to copy that. I'm going to put it in my text file right here. And I'm just going to copy the URL and open it in my browser right here. So you can see that this URL is related to our target person, and you can see that it's leading us to a course that's taught by myself. Now, this is not really useful. You can see that the target person is teaching online courses, whatever, not very useful. But if we go back and look at the other URL, so this had 2 URLs. If I scroll back to the left, we can see we have the first URL right here. And this URL is my profile URL. So I'm going to copy it again and paste it in the browser. And you can see this is showing us the profile for the target person. You can see that it's the same name. You can see their picture. So you know this is your target. You can see a description about what they do, but you probably already know that. But you can see some useful stuff. For example, you can see that they used to work with a company called iSecurity. So again, you can go to what we did previously, research iSecurity, add their website as a target, and then gather all the information that we were able to do, and then use that to build up a strategy against Zaid. Now, we're not going to do that because we've already done something like that. So we're going to try to see what other information we can get. what's really useful in here, we can see that the person is sharing a few links. So they're sharing their YouTube channel, they're sharing their LinkedIn profile, they're sharing their Facebook, and they're sharing their own blog. All of these, you can go ahead and browse all of these things to gather more information about that person. Now, you need to keep in mind that I'm setting my targets to myself, which is an aware person about computer and information technology. And even the target I targeted in my previous video, iSecurity, it's an information technology company. And even with that, we were able to gather so much information. So when you're targeting normal companies or normal people, it'll be so much easier to get effective information. So right now, if you actually go look at the YouTube, look at the LinkedIn, and look at the Facebook, you really won't get much. Like even if you click on the Facebook, you'll see the Facebook won't lead you to anything. You need to log in, and even after logging in, you won't get too much useful information. What's useful in my case is if we go on the blog. And we're gonna go to the About. And what's useful in this is we have the email address of the target person, and we have their Twitter account. So these information were not included on Udemy. And now we have two really useful pieces of information. So in the next video, we'll see how we can use this information to gather even more info about our target and hopefully be able to build up an attack strategy. So far, we've seen really good methods in client-side attacks. These methods were really good because we didn't really need to ask the client to do anything. We would gain access to the target computer if the client update their system, or if they download something, then we'll backdoor it on the fly. So these methods are really good because we don't actually need to interact with the person does need to do something, so the user has to actually do an action, but we don't need to ask them to do something. The only problem with these methods is that we need to be the man in the middle. So we either need to do ARP poisoning, or we need to start our own fake access point, or do something to become the man in the middle. In the next videos, we're going to talk about a method or methods that you can use if you aren't the man in the middle. If the person maybe exists in a remote place that it's not possible for you to become the man in the middle. So we're going to be talking about social engineering. And social engineering is really big, and there's so many attacks that you can do because it all depends. Sometimes you don't even need any technical information to do that kind of attacks. So it all depends on your target and how you're gonna build a strategy to attack that target and maybe get some passwords or gain access to a certain computer system. So what we're going to do is, usually with information gathering, the most important step is gathering information. You need to gather as much information as you can about your target, about what websites they use, who is their friends, anything, any piece of information can become really, really useful to you when it comes to social engineering. So we're going to look at how to gather information about a specific person first. So all we're gonna have is just a name or a Facebook account, and we'll see what information we can gather based on that name. After that, we're gonna move and we're gonna start building a strategy, and we'll see how we can use all the information that we gathered to build a strategy in order to build an attack and gain access to the target computer system. And at the end, we're actually going to use some technical stuff to create our backdoor. We're going to make a backdoor that's acceptable by the target user that they'll probably use. And we'll also see how we can pretend to be one of their friends and get the target person to run the backdoor. So we're actually going to be asking them to run a specific file instead of the methods that we've seen so far, where the user voluntarily goes and updates their system or downloads a certain executable.
In this lecture, I want to show you another backdoor delivery method. In this method, we're going to wait for our target to download an executable, and we will backdoor this executable as it's being downloaded. So when they run their executable, they will get the file that they're expecting, but at the same time, a backdoor will run at the background, giving us full access to their computer. The only limitation to this is you need to be the man in the middle. It doesn't matter how you manage to achieve this position, but you need to be able to intercept connections so you can backdoor the downloads on the fly. Now to do this, we're going to be using a tool called Backdoor Factory Proxy. This tool comes pre-installed with Kali, but the installed version will not work as expected. Therefore, I created an installation script that is in the resources of this lecture. All you have to do is just download it. I already have it downloaded in here. Once it's downloaded, all you need to do is navigate to where it is. So in my case, it's in my downloads. So I'm just going to do in my terminal here, I'm going to go cd downloads. And if we list here, you'll see we have the file install BDF proxy. And to run this file, because it's a .sh file, we can just do bash followed by the file name, which is install BDF proxy.sh. Hit enter and it'll download a number of libraries, configure them and install them so that you can use Backdoor Factory with no issues. If you get any errors as this is happening, then please take a screenshot and post it for us in the questions section and we will respond to you within 15 hours. Otherwise, if everything works as expected, as you can see here, then you're good to go. Now this script will install BDF proxy in the OPT directory. So let's go back to the file manager. And as usual, if you press Ctrl L or if you go here, put a /, you'll see the path bar. And in here, if we just type OPT, you'll see you'll have a new directory called BDF proxy. This is the program that we just installed. And inside it, you'll actually have the executable of the program. And you have the configuration file. So I'm going to double click the configuration file to change the config. And the main thing that you want to change in here is the proxy mode, which we have it right here. It'll be set to regular by default, and you want to change that to transparent. The next thing that we want to modify is the IP of my current computer, because like I said, this tool will backdoor every file the target downloads. So we need to tell this tool my IP so that when the backdoor gets executed on the target computer, it knows where to connect to. So you can get your IP by running ifconfig as I showed you before. I've already done this and I know my IP is 10.0.2.15. So I'm going to look for where it says Windows in here. This is the configuration for the Linux targets. If you're targeting Linux, then you also want to modify the IP here. But I'm only going to be targeting Windows. So I'm going to look to where it says Windows, as you can see in here. And I'm going to change the host to my IP, which is 10.0.2.15. And I'm also going to scroll down to change it for Windows 64. And again, in here, you want to set it to 10.0.2.15. And we're good to go. So I'm going to Ctrl S to save and Ctrl Q to quit. And we are ready to use the tool. So keep in mind, the tool is installed in OPT BDF proxy. And the program that runs the tool is this file right here, bdfproxy.py. Therefore, we're going to go to our terminal. We're going to navigate to where the tool is installed. So we're going to do cd opt bdf proxy. I'm going to hit enter. And if I do a quick ls, you'll see we have the program file in here. And because you see this in green, it means it's an executable. So we can run it by doing // followed by the file name, which is bdfproxy.py. I'm going to hit enter and this will run with no errors. So it's perfect. So this program right now is running on its own. And as soon as it receives a request for an exe, it's going to backdoor that executable. But the way it is right now, it's not going to receive any requests. Therefore, we need to redirect requests to it. To do that, we need to first become the man in the middle. And like I said, you can do this using ARP spoofing. You can do it by using a fake access point and targeting the clients that connect to you. Or you can use this tool whenever you manage to become the man in the middle, regardless of how you manage to do this. I'm going to do it with ARP spoofing because it's the easiest. So we're going to use BetterCap exactly the same way that we've been using it before. So we're giving it the interface, which is ETH0, and then I'm giving it my ARP spoofing caplet so that it puts me in the middle of the connections, allowing me to intercept data and modify it on the fly. So I'm going to hit enter. This will run with no issues, so it's perfect. So now I'm intercepting the data. Anytime this Windows machine right here, which is the target, tries to download something, it's going to be intercepted in here in BetterCap, but BDF Proxy is still not able to see that there is a download because these are two separate programs. So what we want to do is we need to link all the data that this program sees to this program right here. And to do that, we're going to use a firewall that comes pre-installed in most Linux systems called iptables. And using iptables, we can specify rules that packets have to follow. So I'm going to clear my screen here, and I'm going to use iptables to modify a table called NAT and append a pre-routing rule that will apply for TCP packets. That's going to a destination port 80, and we want to redirect this to port 8080 where we have BDF Proxy running and waiting to backdoor the downloads. So, very simple command. We're using a program called iptables to modify a table called NAT. We're going to append a pre-routing rule that will apply for TCP packets. That's going to destination port 80, and we're going to redirect them to port 8080 where we have this program BDF Proxy running, waiting to backdoor files for me. So I'm going to hit enter. And I misspelled port in here. There's an R. And this runs with no errors, so that's perfect. So now we're using BetterCap to intercept data. All this data is going to be redirected using this rule to BDF Proxy, which will wait and see if there is an exe being downloaded. It'll backdoor it and then serve it back to the target. When the target executes the exe, they'll execute a backdoor that will send the connection back to me. So all I have to do right now here is to listen for incoming connections. And you can do this using the multi-handler as I showed you before. Or if you're lazy, you can actually use the resource file that the backdoor factory creates for us. So this file right here will automatically start the multi-handler and listen for incoming connections for all of the payloads that we saw in the configuration file of BDF Proxy. To run this, all we have to do is first of all run MSF console as usual, and we're gonna say I want to give you a resource file and then give it the full path for this resource file. Now keep in mind, this file was created by BDF Proxy that is stored in OPT BDF Proxy. Therefore, the location of this file is going to be in OPT BDF Proxy followed by the file name. So if I hit enter now, MSF console will run and it will load all the code that is stored in the resource file, which will automatically start the multi-handler and configure it with the IPs that we specified when we configured BDF Proxy. So now everything is running and we are ready to go. So let's go to the target computer and let's keep it simple when testing. So I'm going to try to download something from a HTTP website. So we're going to go to speedbit.com and we're just going to click on download. This will actually download the DApp, which I showed you how to hijack its updates. You'll get a normal download. We're gonna save it to our downloads. This will automatically go to downloads. So I have that already open in here. As you can see, it has an actual proper icon for the program. This is the normal icon that you'll get if you download Speedbit. And if you double click it and run it, it's just an executable. You will actually get the normal installer. So if this was an actual person, they won't really get suspicious because they're installing the program that they wanted. But what they don't know is this program got backdoored on the fly as it was being downloaded. So if we go back to our Kali machine, you'll see that Metasploit is saying that there is a new session opened. So all I have to do now is press enter on my keyboard. Then I'm gonna do sessions L to list all of the available sessions. And as you can see, we have a new session in here. And to enter into this session, to interact with it, I'm gonna do sessions I, followed by the ID of this session, which is number 1. And I'm inside my Meterpreter session right now, inside the target computer. So to verify this, I'm gonna do sysinfo. And as you can see, I'm inside the MS Edge right now, and I can control this machine and do anything the normal user can do on their computer. And like I said, I will show you how to control this computer remotely in the post-exploitation section. But for now, we have full access to that computer, and we managed to do this by backdooring a file that the normal user requested to download as that file was being downloaded. Now in this lecture, I'd like to give you an overview of a tool that we're going to be using often in this course. This tool is great for information gathering, and it allows you to gather information just about anything. You can gather information about people, you can gather information about websites, computers, companies, phone numbers, everything, really everything you can think of. You can add it to this tool and try to extract information related to that entity. The tool is called Maltego, and it's going to become your best friend when it comes to information gathering. Now, like I said, the tool can be used to gather information about anything, but using the tool is the same. So it doesn't matter if your target is a website, if it's a person, if it's a phone number, if it's a company, it doesn't really matter. Using the tool is exactly the same, but only the information that you'll be getting is going to be different. So in this lecture, we're going to have a quick overview over this tool, and then we're going to be using it more in the next lectures. So first of all, to run the tool, just go to the More Applications right here, and then just type in Maltego. And you can see that the tool comes up in here, and it's called Maltego CE. The first time you run the tool, you'll be asked to log in with a username and a password. If you don't have one, you'll have to register through the wizard that you'll see. So just create a new username and new password, and then they'll send you an activation link to your email, activate your account, and then you'll be able to log in and use the tool. Now, as you can see, I've already logged in, and it's offering me to use one of the already made templates for gathering information. I'm not going to use any of that, so I'm just going to click on the cancel right here. In here, you can see that we have the home page for the tool. And from here, you can add more transformers to the tool. Basically, transformers are plugins that allow you to gather information about specific things. So you can literally just click on install on any of these, and it'll add basically more transformers or more things that you can do with Maltego. A lot of these extra transformers will ask you to log in with a username and a password or use a certain API. For now, we're just going to use the built-in transformers, and I'm just going to go on right here to create a new graph. And this is the main workplace of Maltego. So in the middle, we have our graph. So here is where you're going to be seeing your entities, where you're going to be seeing the information. In here, you'll have an overview of the graph. And in here, you'll have details about each entity in the graph. And in here at the bottom right, you'll be able to change the properties for each of these entities. All of this is empty now, and all of this is vague, I know, for you, but once we start using the tool, it'll start making sense straight away.
On the left, we have our entities. They're organized in categories right here, depending on the type of these entities. So for example, if we click on the infrastructure, it will allow you to add a domain name. You can add MX records, you can add URLs, or you can add a website. So you can literally just drag and drop the entity that you want. And now we have a website in the graph, and from here we can start gathering information about this website. There is a lot of different types of entities. So you can add a device from here. You can, for example, if we go to personal, you'll see that you can actually just add a person. So literally you can just add a person, give their first name, their second name, and then you'll be able to gather information about this person. You can also add a phone number, again, put the phone number and start gathering information about it. And one of the really cool categories right here is the social links, which will allow you to add Facebook entities. It will allow you to add GitHub, Foursquare, LinkedIn, Instagram, and other social networks. And with that, once you add them, you'll be able to gather information about these entities. And obviously, this information will really help you when it comes to trying to exploit that person and hack into their system. Now, once you add the entity in here, if we click on the website, for example, I'm just going to go on the property view, and you'll see that in here I can modify the properties for this website. So for example, the first thing that we need to change is put the name of our target website in here. And once we do that, we can right click and select what type of information we want to gather. Now, I'm not gonna run any transformers in this video. We're gonna do it in next videos. For now, I'm just showing you a quick overview of the tool, how to add entities, how to run transformers, and what do we mean by all of these things. I know a lot of this is still a bit vague, but we're gonna be using this tool a lot in the course, and it's gonna become very easy for you. And as I said, you're gonna be able to use it to gather information about anything, and it's really gonna help you enhance your social engineering skills.
Previously, we learned how to create an undetectable backdoor, which is great. But we delivered this backdoor by simply downloading it at the target computer. Now, this will probably not work in real life. Your target will never just download an executable and run it if you ask them to do that. Therefore, in this lecture, I want to show you a smarter delivery method where we will spoof an update. So when a specific program at the target computer checks for updates, it will say that there is an update, and when they install that update, they will actually be installing a backdoor. The only limitation to this method is you need to be the man in the middle. It doesn't matter how, but you need to be able to intercept the connections. So you can do this using ARP spoofing, or using a fake access point, as I showed you before, or using any other method that will allow you to intercept the connections. So usually, programs have a specific domain that they use to check for updates. So let's say we have the user here that has a specific program, it wants to update something, it will send a request to a specific domain. And let's say this domain, in this case, it's updateserver.com. This will be sent to the DNS server. The DNS server will respond with the IP of the update server, which we have right here. And then the user will send a direct request to the update server looking for updates. If there are updates, then the update server will respond with the updates. Now, if we are the man in the middle, if we're able to intercept all the requests and the responses, then when we get a request for updateserver.com, instead of giving the IP of the update server, we can actually give the IP of a hacker server. This server is running a special program called EvilGrade, and EvilGrade will tell the user that yes, there is an update, and instead of serving them an actual update, it will serve them a backdoor. So when the user agrees to install this update, they'll actually be installing a backdoor on their system. Let's do this practically and it will become even clearer. Right here, I have my Kali machine. Now, EvilGrade does not come pre-installed in Kali, therefore you'll need to install it yourself. I've included these instructions in the resources of this lecture. I've also included the EvilGrade zip in the resources, so all you have to do is literally download it, follow the instructions here, which are basically just commands that you need to run in your terminal, and EvilGrade will be installed in your downloads if you follow them exactly as shown in here. So I already have it installed in here in my downloads, and to run it, I'm going to go to my terminal. I'm first going to navigate to where it is, so it's in my downloads, EvilGrade. And then to run the binary, the program itself, we're going to do ./EvilGrade. Now, using EvilGrade is very simple and very similar to Metasploit. So, to get a list of all the programs that we can hijack their updates, we're going to do show modules. And as you can see, you have a lot of famous programs such as WinZip, VMware, Skype, Safari, and so on. Now we're going to be doing this on a program called DAP, Download Accelerator Plus. So we have it here. So to configure a specific module, all we have to do is just type configure module name, which is DAP. So you can replace DAP with any module that you want to configure with any program that you want to hijack. So I'm going to hit enter, and as you can see, it's saying that now I'm inside the DAP module, and I'm going to do show options to see all of the options that I can set. So as you can see, we get a list of all the options that we can set, and the main option that we want to change is the agent. This is the path to the program that will be installed as an update. So in our case, we're going to be replacing this with the backdoor that we created in the previous lecture. So to change this option, we're going to do set agent, the option name, to the location where I have my backdoor. And my backdoor is in var www html backdoor.exe. So as you can see, the format of changing options is very similar to Bettercap and Metasploit. We do set, followed by the option that we want to change, followed by the value. So I'm going to hit enter, and that's done. The next thing that I want to modify is the end site, which is the website that will be loaded once the update is successful. Now, I know this will return a not found error. That's why I'm going to change it. You don't have to change it with every module. So again, to change this, we're just going to do set end site, and I'm just going to set it to just the basic domain, which is speedbit.com. And finally, before we run everything, I'm going to do show options one last time to make sure that everything is set as I want it. So I have the agent set to var www html backdoor.exe. That's perfect. And I have the end site set to the way I want it. So I'm ready to go. And all we need to do now is just type start to start EvilGrade. So right now, if EvilGrade gets a request for an update, it will say, yes, there is an update, and it will serve the backdoor.exe as the update. The only problem is, it will never get any requests right now, because I am not intercepting connections. I'm still not the man in the middle. Therefore, we're gonna become the man in the middle using Bettercap. Like I said, you can use any method you want to become the man in the middle, but we're just gonna do it using ARP spoofing right now. So I'm going to use Bettercap using the exact same command that we've been using before. So we're just doing Bettercap, giving it the interface connected to the network, and giving it the spoof caplet so that it runs an ARP spoofing attack, putting me in the middle of the connections. I'm going to hit enter, and this will run with no errors, so that's perfect. We also need to use Bettercap to run a DNS spoofing attack and spoof any request to update.speedbit.com. This is the domain that the target program uses to check for updates, and we want to spoof DNS requests to this so they return the IP of the Kali machine right here, which is running EvilGrade, so EvilGrade gives them the fake update. Now, I covered how to do DNS spoofing in details in a full lecture before, so if you don't remember how this works, please go back and revise this lecture because I'm going to do it a little bit quickly right now. So I'm going to copy this domain and I'm going to clear the screen here, and we're going to set the DNS spoof all to true. And we'll also set the DNS spoof .domains to the domain that we want to spoof. Finally, we're going to start the DNS spoofer by doing DNS spoof on. And perfect, now it's working and it's telling us that it's going to spoof any request to update.speedbit.com to the IP of my Kali machine. The IP of my Kali machine is running EvilGrade. EvilGrade will say yes, there is a new update, and it'll serve them the backdoor that we have right here, and that way the backdoor will be automatically executed on the target computer. The only problem is the backdoor will get executed, but we're not listening for incoming connections here, so we won't really get access. Therefore, we need to listen for incoming connections using Metasploit as I showed you before. Now I've already configured my multi-handler. Again, I covered this in details, so if you don't remember how to do it, please go back to that lecture. Right now I'm just going to do show options to show you the options that I set right here. And you can see that I am using a Windows Meterpreter reverse HTTP here because I'm actually using a different backdoor in my EvilGrade, this backdoor right here. It's not a reverse HTTPS as shown in previous lectures. It's actually a reverse HTTP backdoor because for some reason I noticed the HTTPS backdoors are not working with EvilGrade. That's why I created a reverse HTTP backdoor specifically for this lecture. So I'm setting my payload to the same payload that's used in my backdoor. I'm setting my IP in here. I'm setting the L port to 8080, so everything is perfect. I'm gonna run exploit to listen for incoming connections. And now we're ready to go. So now let's go over this one more time. When we go to the target computer and check for updates, right now this computer is intercepting connections because of Bettercap, and it's also gonna spoof any request for update.speedbit.com to this IP. This is the IP where EvilGrade is working. EvilGrade is going to say yes, there is a new update. The update is this executable. The target computer will take this executable, it'll run it because it thinks it's an update. When this gets executed, it'll send a connection to us in here in our multi-handler. So let's go to the target computer and see if this will actually work as we expected. So I've already downloaded Download Accelerator Plus, the program that we're trying to hijack its updates, and installed it. So I'm just going to double click it to start the program. Now it's just asking me to set it as the default download manager. I'm going to say no. And I'm going to go to help. And I'm going to click on update now. We're going to say yes, check for updates please. I'm just going to uncheck this, click on next. It's checking for updates now. And it's telling us that there is a new update. So we're going to say next. And it's telling us right here, it's a critical update. So I'll be like, yeah, I want to install this. This will download the update for me and install it. And it's telling us that it's done. Everything is done. We're going to say next. Thank you very much. And finish. Now, if we go back to the Kali machine, you can see we got a reverse connection here from the target. And just to confirm this, we can do sysinfo to see more information. And perfect, as you can see, we're inside the target computer. And now we have full access to that computer and can do whatever the normal user can do on their system. Now, I will talk more about post-exploitation and how to control the computer using this Meterpreter access in the post-exploitation section. But right now, we managed to hack into a computer using a fake update. Right, so now we have the email address of the target person and we have their Twitter account. So let's start with Twitter and see what we can get from that. So I'm gonna open the Twitter account for the target person right here.
I'm gonna copy the link. And we're gonna come here and we're gonna add a Twitter entity. So I'm just gonna move all of this to the side. And we're gonna add a Twitter entity from the social network category. The problem here is you'll see that there is a tweet entity, but there is no Twitter entity. But Maltego actually has an entity for Twitter, it's just not being shown in here. And that's why I said I want to spend more time using Maltego with you to show you how to access these settings. So we're going to go to Entities. We're going to go to Manage Entities. And right here you can add all of these entities. So all of these entities are not added to the palette to the left in here. So if you see something in here that's interesting to you, you can just click on it. So the one I'm interested in right now is the Twitter affiliation, the membership of the Twitter social network. I'm going to click on the three little dots here. I'm going to go on Advanced Settings. And I'm going to check this box which says palette item. Now if I click on OK and close this, you'll see that I have a Twitter entity showing up in here. So again, I'm going to use this as normal. I'm just going to drag and drop it. I'm going to set the name of it here. So that's going to be myself, which is Zaid. And we're going to put the URL in here. So that's the URL of the profile. And I've already copied that, so it's this one. And my user ID is Zaid ALQ. So I'm going to put that in here. And we're good to go. Now we can gather information about this person based on their Twitter account. So I'm going to right click it and see what we can get. So we can get their tweets. We can see the tweets that they sent to people. We can transfer this to person. We can get more details. We can get the followers. What I really want to get in this is to get their friends so that I can actually target them through their friends. So again, I'm just going to click on the play button here. And this particular transformer requires you to log in to Twitter. So as you can see now, Maltego is telling me that I have to log into Twitter to be able to gather information about this person. So I'm going to click yes, I'll log in, no problem. And then I'm going to click on this sign in right here. And I'm just going to log in with a username and a password. So I'm going to actually use a different account than the one that we're gathering information about. And now it's asking me, do I want to authorize this app? I'm going to say yes, authorize it, no problem. And that's it. Now we're logged in to Maltego. I'm going to go back to Maltego. And you can see that it's telling me I can sign out using this button. So now I'm logged into it. And if I close this, the search will start. So it's now starting to look for friends on Twitter of Zaid. And as you can see now, I managed to get the people that are friends with Zaid. And we can see some really interesting stuff. Now, these are all just websites, so they're not really very useful. We can go ahead and pretend to be a person from these websites, and there is a high chance of Zaid to respond to it, but it's not as good as using the people. So I'm actually going to delete these websites. I'm just going to click on delete. And we're just going to organize these. And now we can see that Zaid has 3 friends. And again, we can use all of these friends, right click them, and try to gather more information about them. This is good so far. And in the next lecture, we'll go back to where we were. So we gathered information now about the Twitter account. We'll see how to gather information about the email of that person. Okay, now let's see what can we get using the email of the target person. Now, if we hover over this, or if we just copy the email address, it will copy the email of the person, which is zaid@isecurity.org. So we're going to go back to our Maltego, And I'm gonna put this to the side. And we're gonna add a new entity, and this is going to be an email address. So we're gonna go to personal, and we're gonna look for email address, drag drop that, and set the email to the email of the target person from the properties. Again, I'm gonna double click it and type zaid@isecurity.org. Now again, we actually got the email from here, from this icon right here, which leads us to the email of the person. So I didn't guess it myself or just get it out of nowhere. I actually managed to get it from only typing the name of the person. Now from this email, we're gonna try and see what information we can get. I'm gonna right click this as usual, and I'm gonna transfer this to a domain name. Now again, you can transfer this to a person, you can transfer this to a phone number, to URLs, to websites, but I'm not gonna do all of that because I've already actually done this on my own time, and the useful one is if we transfer it to a person. So there's a lot of trial and error in this. You'll try things, it might not give you good information, delete the bad entities, and just keep going. So we can see that we got a domain name, which is isecurity.org. Now from this website, I'm gonna try to get the email addresses associated to this website. We're gonna go back and we're gonna look for email addresses, as you can see here. So I'm just gonna click on run all to run all the transformers that will get me email addresses associated with this domain. And if we go down, we have this domain protection email, which is not useful, so I'm just gonna delete it straight away. And we have m.askar@isecurity.org, which is the same person as this. Now another thing that we can do from the domain is transfer that to a website. And then from this website, we're gonna look for email addresses associated with it. Great, now this is done. And if we go down, we can see now we got two not useful emails right here. So I'm gonna delete these two. And we have two good ones. So we have mustafa@albazi.com, which is the same as this person, which we got from Twitter. And we have the info@isecurity.org. Now again, you can just keep going and try to gather more information about this target, but for now I think this is enough. So we have enough info to start building up an attack strategy for this person. Now in the next lecture, we'll discuss all the info that we gathered and we'll come up with ideas on how we can attack this person and hack into their system or into their accounts. Okay, now let's see how we can build up an attack strategy against our target, which is Zaid, a person named Zaid. Before I do any of that, I just wanna do this in front of you, just organize my workspace so that we can think of it properly and come up with ideas. So I'm gonna delete all of these websites because they didn't really contain any useful information. So I'm just gonna keep the only one that had useful information was Udemy, and that's the only one that I'm gonna keep. And I'm gonna move this here. And I'm gonna put Zaid here on the top. And I'm just gonna click and drag from here to the email address so that we'll know that Zaid is associated with the email address. And I'm just gonna click OK. And you can see now Zaid is associated with this email, which led us to iSecurity. And then we're actually gonna just add another arrow from Zaid to my Twitter account. And again, so that just we know that this Twitter account is associated with this person. And we have an entity here of Udemy. We also know that Muhammad Askar right here has this email. So it has m.askar@isecurity.org. So we know that this person, this email, is associated with this person, and the email is at isecurity.org, then this person is probably, or most definitely, is associated with isecurity.org as well. So, and if you actually do a Google search, you'll see that this guy is the admin of iSecurity. So again, we're just going to put an arrow from here to here. And I'm going to do the same with Mustafa, because you can see we have his email there. And we'll also associate iSecurity with this person. And I'll just move him here and move this guy there. I'm gonna move him here. I know I made a mess out of this, but it's much easier when it looks clean. Okay, now this is much better. Now let's zoom in a little bit. Okay, perfect. So our target is Zaid, and we know Zaid uses Udemy and teaches courses there. We were also able to see Zaid's blog. We were able to see his YouTube, LinkedIn, and all that stuff already. Now that on its own can make me think of so many ways to attack Zaid. We can, looking at how active he is on Udemy, we can just pretend to be a person from Udemy. So we can pretend to be someone from the admins of Udemy and send him a program, for example, and tell him this is our new beta program that we're only given to special instructors. This way Zaid will feel privileged because he's getting something that other instructors are not getting, and he'll run that file. And once he runs that file is going to be a Trojan. So that file can be a backdoor or a keylogger or a program that will steal his passwords or allow us to do anything we want on the target computer. Now again, like I've said in this section, we're not going to be talking about the technical stuff. We'll talk about that in future lectures and you'll know how to do this. So when I say we'll send him a file that looks like a normal file, we'll actually be able to do that. And this normal file, it'll be a normal program, but at the background, it'll do what we want it to do. We can also pretend to be from YouTube, from the blog, from WordPress, from Udemy again, and ask him to reset their password and give them a link that has a login page exactly the same as the login page of Udemy or YouTube. And once they put on their password, we'll actually get that password. So the possibilities are endless there, and we'll talk about ideas on how to do all of that later on. Looking at the connections that we can see here with iSecurity, we can see that this person has a lot of connections with this company or with this website. We can see that he has an email at isecurity.org. So again, this email is really useful because this is how we're going to be communicating with Zaid. You can also communicate with him through Udemy, obviously, as sending as messages, but I'm pretty sure that his friends, and yes, my friends, don't really communicate with me over Udemy. So if you want to target Zaid using his email, that's another way to do it. And we have his friends. So we have one of his friends right here, Muhammad. And you can see there's so many connections between him and Zaid. They're both friends on Twitter. They're both active on iSecurity. And they both have at isecurity.org email. So this makes you think they're not only work colleagues, they're probably friends as well. And exploiting this friendship, you can send stuff to Zaid asking him about anything really. You can show him pictures of a car that you want to buy, for example. You can send him PDFs because you know that both of these guys are interested about computer security. They're running a security website, and you can just send him a PDF saying, oh, look at my new ebook. And when they open the PDF, again, it'll run a file that you want it to run on the system. That'll give you gain access on Zaid's system. Now, again, when you send an email, you will be able to send an email that looks exactly as if it's coming from Muhammad. You can do the same with Mustafa. So you can send stuff to Zaid. You can send him stuff that they're interested in. You can send him just pictures. You can send him links to ask him to log in and do something. The possibilities, again, are endless when it comes to social engineering. Not only that, but let's say you tried everything and you couldn't hack into Zaid's system. You tried to pretend to be all of these people, you tried all the ideas that you can think of, and you couldn't reach Zaid's system. This is not the end of the world. What you could do is you can actually try to hack into one of his friends. So you can try to hack into Muhammad's computer. You can try to hack into Mustafa's computer. From there, try to get into their Facebook and then communicate with Zaid over Facebook from their Facebook account, because you can't really send a message that looks like it's coming from Muhammad on Facebook. We can only do that with emails. But again, you can hack into these guys' Facebook's accounts and then try to hack into Zaid. Why not hack into their accounts? Hack into iSecurity, because you know these people are admins. They have at iSecurity emails, and they're, even if you research their names, you'll see that they're admins. Why not hack into their computers, hack into iSecurity, and Zaid definitely browses iSecurity, so embed a backdoor in there, or change one of the files that's hosted into iSecurity into a backdoor, and then once Zaid downloads it or uses it, you'll be able to hack into his computer. Now again, don't get overwhelmed about all the information that I'm saying at the moment. We will take this step by step, and you'll learn how to send these fake emails, how to create these backdoors, how to create these keyloggers, and all that cool stuff in the next sections of this course. For now, I just wanted to show you how powerful Maltego is and how you can use it to gather information about anything really. Like, we started with just a name. Literally, we started with Zaid Sabi, and we were able to gather information about his websites, his blog, his YouTube, his friends, his emails, anything. Like, we literally profiled the whole person. And again, this person is a techie person, a person who is interested into information technology, so he's very careful with what to share, but we were still able to gather enough information to build up an attack strategy. If you do this against a normal person, you'll be surprised about the amount of information that you'll be able to gather about them. In this lecture, I'd like to show you how to combine the backdoor that we created before with any other file type, so that when executed, it'll display an image, a PDF, a song, or something that the target person is interested in. This way, you'll be able to social engineer them to run your backdoor, and they'll see something that they trust, but at the same time, your backdoor will run in the background. We're going to do this using a download and execute script, which will basically download the backdoor, download the file that the person expects, run the file that the person expects, and run the backdoor in the background. I'm going to include the download and execute script in the resources, but I already have it downloaded here. So you can literally just double click this, and you'll see the code used inside the script. I programmed this in a way so that you can use it to download and execute anything and any number of files. So all you have to do is literally put the links or the URLs for the files in here and separate them by a comma. So you can put a URL, comma, and keep going. So you can use this to download and execute 2 executables, 3 executables, or any number of files you want. So I'm going to delete everything here. And I'm going to put the file that I want the target person to see. Now, this file needs to be available online and uploaded on a direct link, so it can be downloaded from that link. For this example, I'm going to use an image, but you can use any other file type. You can get them to open a PDF or anything else that you want. So I'm just going to go on my browser, and I'm going to go on Google Images and just look for an image, and I'm going to look for a car. I'm going to take the car image, and I'm going to click on view image here. And notice when I do that, we get the image itself through a direct URL right here. So you can see the end of the URL is .jpg. And when we access the image, you'll see that there is no ads around it, nothing, no HTML. All you see is just the file itself. So the files included in that script all have to have a direct URL. So I'm going to copy all of this, and I'm going to paste it in here as the first URL. Now this is done. The next file that I wanted to be downloaded and executed is going to be my backdoor. So I'm going to put a comma, And then I'm going to put a direct URL for my backdoor. And as we've seen before, that's stored at http 1020.14.2.13 evil files rev https 8080.exe. Now just to go over this point again, if I copy this URL and paste it in my browser, you'll see that I can download this. I can access the backdoor and download it without seeing any HTML, without seeing any timer or a download page. Literally, if I paste that URL in there, I can access the file and download it directly. You can see that there's no pages loaded, nothing. If I put the URL, I can download the file. This is very, very important. The script will not work if you don't use direct URLs. So, as you can see, the script is very simple. All we had to do is put the URL for the first file, and then we put a comma, which is very, very important again. So you have to separate the URLs by a comma. And then we put the URL for the second file. And like I said, if you want to download more files, if you want to download more backdoors or more evil files, all you have to do is just put another comma and put the next URL. Now, this is not a programming course, so I'm not going to explain how I program the script. It's very simple. Basically, all it's going to do is it's going to download these files and then execute them. And I have the download function in here. Now, everything is ready for me. I'm going to save this and close it. I'm just going to go back to my downloads to see the script. And now all we have to do is compile the script to an executable. And I'm going to show you how to do that in the next lecture. Okay, now that we have our script ready, in this lecture I'm going to show you how to compile it to an executable and how to change its icon. The script is written in a scripting language called Autowit. Now, Autowit doesn't come pre-installed in Kali, but it gets installed when you install Vil. And since we're using a Vil backdoor, then there's no way you can be at this point without installing Vil. That's why I'm not going to cover how to install Autowit, but you can literally just download it and run the installer using Wine. So, Autowit should be already installed for you by now. And now all we have to do is first rename this file and change the extension from a .txt to a .au3. Then we're going to go to all programs and look for compile. So I'm going to type in compile in here. And you'll see that I have the application that will compile Autowit scripts for me. So I'm going to click on that. And this is very, very simple. As you can see, the first thing that it asks you for is the source Autowit script. And that's the file that we made. So I'm just going to click on browse. And you'd have to navigate to downloads from here. But I'm already in downloads. So I'm just going to click on it and click on open. You can also set where it's going to be stored, but I'm just going to keep it to be stored at the downloads. And then you can see here, you can actually change the icon and use a custom icon. To do this, we'll have to first download an icon that represents our file. Now, if your file was a PDF, then you can just come into this website, which is called Icon Archive, and then download, just look for a PDF or MP3, and you'll see icons that represent these files. However, in my case, I'm trying to use an image as the file that the person sees, and Windows usually shows a preview of the image. It doesn't really show a specific icon for images. So what I want to do is I want to convert the GTR image to an icon. And to do that, I'm just going to go to Google and just Google image to ICO. Now, I've actually tried a few of them, and the best one that preserved the quality was this one, RW Designer. So you can try different ones on your own time. And what you want to do now is download the image that you want to make an icon of. And in my case, I want the same image that the person will see. So I'm just going to save it. And save it in the downloads, that's fine. And then in here, we're going to go to browse to select it. And we have the image here, double click. And then we're going to keep this to icon for Windows 7 or Vista, that's fine. And I'm just going to click on download. This will convert it to an icon for me, a .ico. So I can just click on OK to save it. And then I'm going to go back to my compiler. And we're going to set the option in here, the icon. I'm going to click on Browse and select the icon that we just downloaded. Now again, in your case, you might have to navigate to root from here and then go to Downloads. And then we have the icon in here, the one that we just created. I'm going to click on Open. And that's it. All the options are set. So all we had to do for this is set the location for the script and then set the icon in here. I'm going to click on Convert. And that has generated the file for me. I'm going to click on OK. And I'm just going to close everything. Now you can see we have the executable in here. So this is a .exe and this one was the old script. So when you're sending to the target, you want to be sending the exe, the executable here. I'm just going to rename this to GTR image. And then I'm going to copy it. And I'm going to put it in my web server at var www html evil files. Before downloading this at the target computer, you want to listen for incoming connections from Metasploit. And I showed you how to do that before. So right now I'm only going to do show options to show you the options that I've set. And if you don't remember how to do this, then please go back to the listening for incoming connections lecture as I explained all of this in details. For now, I'm only going to do exploit to wait for incoming connections. Now everything's ready. I'm going to go to the Windows machine and download the file. So the file is going to be at http 1020.14.213 evil files gtr image.exe. I'm going to hit enter and we're going to save the file. And as you can see, we see a file that has an icon, that's an image icon, which has a preview of the image, so it's very representative. And if we double click this file and run it, you see that we get an image that corresponds to the icon. But if we go to the Kali machine, you'll see that we got an interpreter session here. And basically now we hacked into the target computer and we can do anything that we want there. So just to confirm, I'm going to do sysinfo. And as you can see now, we're inside the target computer and we have full access to it. We managed to do this with a file that has an icon of an image and actually displayed an image to the target person. And like I said, this method can be used to combine our backdoor or evil file with any file that you want, with an image, with a PDF, with a song, or anything that the target person is interested in. Okay, so if we look at the backdoor or the Trojan that we generated so far, we can see that it's very cool. First of all, it has an icon that represents a file that the target person is interested in. When it's executed, it shows a normal file that again the target person is interested in. So it shows an image or a PDF or anything that we want really. And at the same time, it's going to execute our evil code in the background, which will allow us to hack the target computer or do whatever that we want. The only problem with this file is if you look here at the end of the file, you can see that it's .exe. Now in most cases, you probably won't see the .exe because Windows would be configured to hide it. But if it's not hiding it, then it's obvious that this file is an executable because it ends with a .exe. So what I want to show you today is how to spoof this and change this to something that corresponds to the file. So if we're trying to make our backdoor look like a PDF, then you can make this look like a .pdf. If we're trying to make the file look like an image, then you want to make this look like a .jpg or a .png or an extension that represents the image. So in our case, we're trying to make it look like an image. So I'm going to try to make this end with a .jpg. To do that, we're going to use a right to left override character. And before I show you how to do that, I'm just going to rename this and just literally copy the name. I'm just going to go on rename and copy everything here. And I'm just gonna paste it in my text editor so that when I'm modifying things, it's clear to you what I'm doing. Okay, now the first thing that I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna type the new file name that I want to use. And for the new file name, I'm not gonna use GTR image, I'm just gonna use GTR. Okay, and this is obviously gonna have to be .exe. Now, instead of this exe, I actually want to have a .jpg. But that's not possible because if I do that, the file is not gonna be an executable. So to do this, I'm gonna try to get the text to be read from right to left using a right to left override character. So, because the text is gonna be read from right to left, we're gonna type this extension after the file name, but we're gonna spell it from right to left. So we're gonna spell it as GPJ in here. So we're gonna put GPJ. Again, this is just the extension that we want to use, but we're spelling it from right to left. So we're spelling it GPJ instead of JPG. Okay, now what I want to do is I want to put a right to left character in here. So basically when I put that character in here, the text, anything that comes in after that character will be read from right to left. So all this is going to be flipped, and basically the file name is going to be called GTR.exe. And this is going to be read from right to left, so it's going to be .jpg. So let me do it and you'll see what I mean by that. So to get that character, we're going to go on all applications here and we're going to look for characters. And you can see that it's already showing me the right to left override here in the recents, but for you it won't show it. So you want to go here on the search and you just want to search for right to left override. And you can see we have it in here. And if you click on it, you'll just see a button that'll allow you to copy that character. So I'm just going to click on copy, and that'll basically just copy the character for me. Now I'm going to come in here, and again, once I paste it in here, anything that comes after that character will be read from right to left. So we're going to start in here, and it's going to be read as exe.jpg. I'm going to put the cursor here and I'm going to paste. And as you can see, now the file name is called gtrexe.jpg. Now again, I'm going to remove the character. Back to normal. If I paste it, everything is being read from right to left, and the file name is going to be called gtrexe.jpg. Now, when you're using a file name like this, in my case, it looks fine because I'm already using a name of a car which is called GTR. And if you're sending it to a person, they might think the EXE is just a special edition of this car. If you're using this as a book or as something else, you want to think of a name that ends with EX. So for example, there's a lot of names, so you can think of Reflex, Hex, Sex, and so on. Anything that ends up with an EX will be a good name to use in here. So I have my name now. I'm just going to copy this. And then I'm going to rename this. And that's it. And as you can see now, my file is called gtrexe.jpg. Now you can send this file the way it is to the target, but I don't want to send it like this because some recent browsers are removing the right to left override when downloading the file. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add this to an archive. So I'm going to right click it and compress. And we'll just add this to an archive called gtr.jpg. And we have our archive here. This way, when the file is downloaded, the browser will not replace the right to left override. So we're all done now. I'm going to copy this, paste it in my evil files, and then we're going to go and download it from the Windows machine. Now, I'm actually already listening for incoming connections here. I've showed you how to do this before, so if you don't remember, please go back to that lecture. I'm going to go to the Windows machine. I'm going to go on my Firefox. And we're going to download the file, which is at http 1020.14.213. And the file name is gtrexe.zip. I'm going to save this. And in here, in our downloads, we see the archive. Now we're just going to uncompress it here. And as you can see now, if you compare this file to this one, you'll see that this one has an exe format. This one has a .jpg format. It has an image icon. And if we double click it, it'll actually show us an image, as you can see. But at the same time, it's going to execute my backdoor in the background. So if I go to the Kali machine, you'll see that I get a session from that computer. And just to confirm this, I'm going to do sysinfo. And as you can see now, I'm inside that computer and I have full control over it. We managed to do this using a file that looks and functions exactly like an image. And just like I said before, this method can be used to make the file look like any other file type, so you don't have to make it look like an image. You can use this method to make it look like a PDF, a song, a video, or anything that you want at all. You can use the download and execute payload to combine the backdoor with any file, and then use this method to change the file extension to any file extension you want.
In the previous few videos, we've seen how we can backdoor any file. So the method I showed you allow you to backdoor anything and make it look like a document, a song, a program, or an image. Now the first delivery method that we're going to talk about, and my personal favorite, is the mail delivery. Now this delivery method, just like any other delivery methods, relies on the information that you gathered so far. So information gathering is very, very important when it comes to this. This delivery method is really handy because you can use it in so many scenarios. You can use it to deliver all the backdoors and the evil files that we've seen so far. You can use it to pretend to be a friend and contact your friend and tell him to download something. You can use it to pretend to be a website that the target website interacts with and pretend to be the admin of the other website and ask the target to do something. You can pretend to be a member of the support team that the target website uses and then ask them to change their password, for example, for the web server that they're using. You can use it to pretend to be a company that your target interacts with and tell them that there's a new update of your software that they already use and then get them to download and install a backdoor. So the possibilities are limitless really when it comes to mail delivery. In this lecture, I'm going to show you an example of targeting a person that's called Zaid. And I have the information that we gathered already in our information gathering lecture. And after we gathered everything, we managed to see that Zaid has a number of friends in here. And the same friends, we managed to see their emails here. And we managed to get Zaid's email, which is zaid@isecurity.org. Now, Zaid could be just a normal person that you want to hack. He could be a friend of a person that you want to hack, but you want to hack Zaid first and then hack to that person. He could be the admin of a website, or he could be an employee of a company. It really doesn't matter. What we're looking at in this lecture is hacking a person that's called Zaid. And then from there, you can leverage that person to hack into other systems or into other networks or into a different company. Now, from the information that we gathered, we see Zaid has these friends, and these are the emails of his friends. So what we're going to do is we're going to pretend to be one of these guys. So m.askar@isecurity.org, and it's this person in here. His name is Muhammad Askar. So we're going to pretend to be that person. We're going to send an email to Zaid, and the email is going to look as if it's coming from this person. And then we're going to ask Zaid to download a file. Let's see how this works, and this is going to be a more realistic delivery method that you can actually use in real life. Now, there are a number of ways to do this. The easiest is just to go on Google and look for spoof emails online.
you'll see a lot of websites that will allow you to do this. The only problem with these websites is the email that you're going to send will end up in the spam directory of the target person. So it will not be delivered into their inbox, which is not great. The main reason for this is because these websites are public and a lot of people use them for spamming, mail servers such as Google, Hotmail, and Yahoo have blacklisted these servers, and any email that comes from the servers that these websites use will be marked as spam. Therefore, in order to bypass this, you can either use your own server if you already have a web hosting plan, or you can sign up for a free web hosting plan and use that to send your fake emails. Or an even better solution is to sign up for an SMTP or a mail server. Now, again, there are a number of websites that offer this. A lot of them are paid, but with the paid websites, you'll actually get really good results because they are used by actual marketers and by actual companies to send emails. So spam is never sent through these servers. If you look through Google for a free SMTP server or a free mail server, you will find some websites, and an example of this is SendGrid, this one right here. And this is also a really good website because it is a paid website, but they offer a free plan, which we can use to send our fake emails. Again, this website is designed for email marketing and for actual companies to communicate with their customers. So when you send emails through the servers of this website, they will not be marked as spam because it's very rarely used for spam. So, because we only need to send one email or 2 emails or even 10 emails, we can actually sign up for the free plan and that'll be fine. Usually, you'd want to go for the paid one if you're sending thousands of emails. So, we're going to sign up with this website. We're just going to pick a username and I'm just going to set it to JHNWCK, the same username I use for my email. And I'm going to set a password. Then I'm going to input my email. And finally, we're going to say I'm not a robot, and we're going to accept the terms and create the account. Now it's asking me for more questions. So it's asking for my first name, last name, company name, phone number, company website, and so on. You don't have to fill this very accurately. I'm just going to use any information for it. And finally, I'm going to click on Get Started. Now we're ready to send our first email, but before we do that, I'm going to go to the email that I used when I signed up, and you'll see that we got a welcome message. I'm going to open it, and I'm going to confirm my email address to activate my account. Now my account is activated and it's ready to be used. I'm actually going to close this and go back to where I was, and I'm going to click on the first option in here, which is integrate using our web API or SMTP relay. Then I'm going to choose to use the SMTP relay because I'm going to communicate with this through my Kali to send the fake email. So I'm going to choose it. And now I'm going to need to create a key so that I can authenticate with this server when I want to send my fake emails. So first of all, I'm going to set a name for this key, and let's call it test. And we're going to click on create key. Now the key is created, and as you can see, this is it in here. We also have the username that we need to use to authenticate. We have the port, and we have the server. So we have all the information needed in order to authenticate with the mail server that's offered by this website, by SendGrid. And in the next lecture, I'm going to show you how to authenticate with the server and how to use it in order to send a fake email. Alright, now that we have the SMTP server set up, let's see how we can communicate with it and use it to send fake emails. So the program that we're going to use to communicate with the server and send the fake emails is called SendEmail. Now, because this is the first time we use it and we actually don't know how to use it, it's a really good idea to type send email --help. As you can see,
you'll get a detailed description on how to use this program, and using it is very similar to using any other Linux program. You need to type the program name followed by the options that we have in here. There is only one required option, which is the -F to specify the from email. But I'm going to leave that for now, and I want to first of all set up this server. I want to set up the username and the password so that we can actually communicate with the server, and then we're going to set the from and the subject and all of that. So the first thing that we're going to do is type the command name, which is send email. Then I'm going to set the first option, which is the -S, which will specify the server that we want to use. We're going to use a colon followed by the port. Now, if we go up, you'll see that the server that we should use is called smtp.sendgrid.net. So I'm going to copy this, and the port should be 25 if we're not using encryption. So I'm going to do -S followed by my server, and I'm going to put a colon, port, which is 25. The next thing that we want to set is the username. So we can do -XU followed by our username. So I'm going to do XU, and if I go up, you'll see it's telling me to use the username as API key. So I'm going to type API key. And I also want to set the password, so that's XP, and followed by the password value. So I'm going to type -XP followed by my password, which if we go up, you can see it is the key that we just generated. So I'm just going to copy all of it and paste it here. So far we haven't even started typing our message. You can think of everything that we're doing so far is similar to the login page that you get usually before you log into your email account. So we're literally just authenticating with the email server that we want to use. Next, we want to start typing our email. So this is going to be similar to when you click on compose and start typing the email. So the first thing that we want to set is the -F to specify the from email. This is the email that this email is going to seem as if it's sent from. Now, to make sure that your message will land in the inbox and not in the spam, pick an email that actually exists and pick an email that the target person usually receives emails from. Now, in our information gathering stage, we discovered that our target, who has an email of zaid@isecurity.org, is somehow associated with a person named Mohammed Asker, and his email is m.asker@isecurity.org. So I'm going to set my from email to m.asker@isecurity.org. This way, the email that I'm going to send is going to appear as if it's coming from m.asker@isecurity.org. And since this is a read email, and since my target is somehow associated with this email, then I'm pretty sure this email will actually land in the inbox and not in the spam. Next, we want to set the target email address. Again, in our information gathering stage, we discovered that our target's email, which is a person called Zaid, is zaid@isecurity.org. So we're going to set the to email using the -T option in here. So I'm going to do -T to zaid@isecurity.org. Don't forget using the quotation marks between the emails and in here. Next, I want to set the subject for this email. So we can set that using the U option. So I'm going to do -U followed by the subject, and I'm just going to say check out this car. And then I want to set the message. So I'm going to do -M followed by the message body. Now, when setting the subject and the message body, keep in mind your target person and the person that you're pretending to be. So if you're pretending to be a friend, then keep the message casual. If you're pretending to be a boss or an authority, then make the message more formal. Also, keep the target person in mind. So if they're interested in music, send them a song. If they're a programmer, send them a program. If you think they like cars, then send them a picture of a car or a video, and so on. So for this example, I'm actually not going to go and create another backdoor. We created a backdoor that looks and functions like an image, so I'm going to use that in my example here. But I think this method works much better if you send a book or a video or a program. Now, like I said, I'm pretending to be a friend, so I'm just going to say, hey man, check out this car, I'm thinking of buying it. Then I'll need to give him a link to the car, so you can upload the backdoor to any cloud storage. I'm going to put it in my Dropbox account. So I'm just going to go to Dropbox. I'm going to click on upload. I'm going to upload the file. And I'm going to click in here to change path. I'm going to type a / to open the path bar. And I'm going to go to var www html, which is the location of my Trojan. And in here, it's called gtrexe.zip. I'm going to open that. And I'm going to select to upload it in my Dropbox, click on upload, and it'll be uploaded for you. So we have it right here. I'm going to click on share. I'm going to create a link for it to be shared. Now you'll always get an error the first time you click it a next time. And for me, for some reason, it's always getting stuck at the second time. So I'm going to refresh this and then click on share again, and you'll see we have the link. I'm going to click on copy the link to copy it, and I'm going to go down to my message and paste it. Now, one trick that I want to show you with Dropbox links, when you see the DL is equal to 0, this means that when your target clicks on the link, they will be asked, do you actually want to download this file? But if you set this to DL equals 1, the target will not be asked, and the file will be downloaded as soon as they click on the link. So that's done, and I'm going to close the message body by putting another quotation. So keep in mind, I'm wrapping my message body with quotes, I'm wrapping my subject with quotes, and I'm even wrapping all my emails with quotation marks to make sure that whatever I type does not interfere with the actual command. And that's it, we're done. We're actually, if we hit enter now, our message will be sent. Before we do that, let's have a quick look on the command so far to make sure that we understand it. So we're using send email. This is the program that's going to interact with the mail server that we created in the previous lecture in order to send our fake email. The first thing that we're giving it using the -s option is the mail server that it should use to send the email. We got the value of that from here, from the server. We're also using the XU and the XP to set the username and the password. And again, we got both of these values from here, from SendGrid. Then we're setting the variables for our email. So we're setting the from email, the email that our email is going to appear to be sent from, using the -f. Then we're setting the target email using the -t. We're setting the subject using the -u. And we're setting the message body using the -m. Now, if you hit enter and send this message, when delivered, it's going to appear it's coming from m.asker@isecurity.org, which is really good. But actual messages coming from this person don't say his email in here. They actually show his actual name. So they show Muhammad Asker instead of showing his email. And I want my fake emails to look 100% like the actual emails coming from this person. So to get this effect, we're going to need to use an advanced option. To use advanced options, you need to use the -o in here. So I'm going to add -o to my command. And the advanced option that we want to use
is a message header. So I'm going to type message header, and I'm going to set this to equal to the header that I want to use. And the header that I want to modify is the from name. So I'm going to say from colon and put the name that I want to appear in here. Now again, we know the name is Muhammad Askar. So I'm going to set it to Muhammad Askar, followed by the email of this person, like so. So m.askar@isecurity.org. And don't forget to put these two signs before and after the email. And that's it. So basically, we just added one more option, which is an advanced option. The option name is message header, and the header that we wanted to add is a from, and we set the from to the name that we want to show as the from name, followed by the email of the person. Now, if I hit enter, we're going to get a message telling us that the email was sent successfully. And I'm actually already listening for incoming connections in here in my multi-handler. So let's go to the target. And as you can see, we have a new email. It's coming from Muhammad Askar. So exactly like a legitimate email coming from this person. We can see the subject like we said it, and we can see the body. Now, if we go inside, again, we have a thumbnail of this person. It's showing his name, it's showing his email, it's showing his picture. So it looks legit. It looks like a proper message sent from this person. Now, this person is a friend of mine, and we tailored the message so that it appears as if it's coming from a friend. If I click on the link, you'll see the file will automatically start downloading. Dropbox is not asking us if we actually want to download this. So I'm going to click OK to download it. It's going to go in my downloads. So if we open the downloads, right click and uncompress this, we'll have the GTR with the image with the proper extension like we've seen before. And if we double click it, we'll see the picture of the car that my friend is trying to buy. So everything looks legit so far. But if we go back to the Kali machine, you'll see that we got a connection from the target, and we basically gained full access to their computer. So if we do there, you'll see all the directories, and basically we can run any system command. Now, the main thing that you want to keep in mind when it comes to this method is that this method is generic. So it works against Windows, Linux, OS X, Android, doesn't really matter. The only thing that you want to make sure is the file that you're sending to the target should work on their target operating system. And I actually cover generating backdoors and credential harvesters and all this cool stuff for all operating systems in my social engineering course. So if you're interested in that, then check out the bonus lecture, the last lecture of this course, because it includes links to all of my other courses, including the social engineering course.
In the previous video, I showed you how to hook a target to Beef using a basic hook method using a HTML page. In this lecture, I want to show you a better way of doing this if you are able to intercept connections. So, as I showed you in the network hacking section, we can inject JavaScript code in the target browser if we are able to become the man in the middle. And since Beef uses JavaScript code to hook targets, we can actually use the exact same method we learned earlier to inject Beef's hook code in every website the target loads. This will allow us to hook targets and keep them hooked without directly communicating with them. So I have Beef already running in here. And like I said, in order to hook targets, we're gonna have to inject Beef's JavaScript code into the browser that they load. So to do this, I've included custom JavaScript code in the resources of this lecture. So first of all, download it from there. I already have it downloaded here. And before using this, I'm gonna double click it to modify it. So as you can see, it's actually very simple code. It's gonna create a new element in every page, which will load Beef's code and it'll append this element to the head of the page. So the only thing you need to modify right here is your IP, and you want to replace that with the IP of the Kali machine that is running Beef. As you know, you can do ifconfig to get your IP. I already know what my IP is, so I'm gonna put it here, 10.20.14.207. So I'm gonna save this, Control S, and quit it, Control Q. Now our JavaScript code is ready, and all we have to do is literally inject it exactly as I showed you before when we injected the simple alert JavaScript code. So all we have to do right now is put the location of this file in the HSTS hijack applet. I'm going through this quickly because I spent a full lecture showing how to use this, so if you don't remember how JavaScript injection works, please go back and revise that lecture. So I'm gonna go to the location where I have the HSTS hijack applet, which is as shown before in user share bettercap applets. This is the modified one, the one that I included in the resources of that lecture, not the one that comes with bettercap, because as I mentioned, the one that comes with bettercap does not work as we want it. So what I want to do right now is modify the HSTS hijack.cap file. As you know, if we want to inject a custom JavaScript code, we have to modify the payload in here. And as you can see, it's already injecting a JavaScript code called keylogger.js. So we want to add our custom JavaScript code. So I'm going to add a comma, followed by the location of the file that I want to inject, which, as you know, I have my file in downloads in here, and it's called injectbeef.js. So first of all, I'm actually going to add a star colon to say that I want to inject this file into every page the target loads. And then I'm going to put the full path to my JavaScript file, which is, as I showed you, in root, downloads, injectbeef.js. It's as simple as that. I'm going to save it, Control S and quit, Control Q. And perfect, so that's done, and all we need to do right now is run bettercap to inject this file into every website the target loads. So we're gonna run bettercap using the exact same command that we used to use before. We're setting the interface to the interface that's connected to the target network, and I'm giving it a caplet to load, and the caplet that I want to load is the spoof caplet, because as I showed you earlier, this caplet will run an ARP spoofing attack, putting me in the middle of the connection. And perfect, as you can see, the caplet runs with no errors. So right now I should be intercepting connections. And the next thing I want to do is to load the HSTS hijack applet, so I can bypass HTTPS, partially bypass HSTS, and inject the JavaScript code that we just configured, the code that's in the injectbeef JavaScript file. So I'm just going to type HS and press tab to autocomplete, hit enter, and everything runs with no errors. So that's perfect. Now I should be intercepting all the data that's sent and received by the target, and because we configured bettercap to inject the hook code in every page that loads, we should be able to hook our target to Beef as soon as they load any website. So let's go to the target computer, and it's actually always a good idea to test against normal HTTP pages first, against the simplest case, but I've already tested this before and I know it works, so I'm gonna go ahead and test it against a HTTPS page straight away. It's also a good idea to remove the browsing data, but I've already done that, so I'm just gonna go to stackoverflow.com. As you can see, the page is loading in normal HTTP, even though it uses HTTPS by default. That means our HSTS hijack is downgrading HTTPS to HTTP. And it should have also injected my injectbeef code. So let's go to Beef to confirm and see if we hooked the target. And perfect. As you can see, we have a new online browser showing up in here, which we can communicate with and run commands on, as I'm going to show you in the next lectures. So now the Beef hook code will be injected in every website the target loads. This will work against HTTP websites, HTTPS websites, and even partially work against HSTS websites. Like I showed you before, if the target goes to the HSTS website through a search engine that only uses normal HTTPS.
So now that we have our browser or target hooked, we can go on the commands and start executing commands on that target. You can use the search to filter you're looking for a certain command if you know what you're looking for, or you can use the categories and look for commands suitable to what you want to do on the target computer. Some of these commands are information gathering commands, some of them are social engineering, some of them will even give you full control over the target computer. There's a lot of commands, so I won't be able to go over all of them, but I'll be showing you some of the most important commands and examples of simple ones as well, so you know how to experiment and run the other commands. So we're starting, if you go in the browser, you'll see commands related to stuff that you can do inside the browser. So you can see things that will allow you to, for example, get a screenshot. You'll be able to try and gain and turn on the webcam and see if it works, and basically open the webcam on the target. You can gather information. If you go here on the exploits, you'll see a number of exploits that you can run. Again, depending on what's running on the target computer, you can run them. All you have to do is just click on the module that you want to run and click on execute. Sometimes some modules need to send some options to be set up, and we'll have examples of that as well. In the social engineering, again, there's some really cool stuff that you can do. You can show fake updates, fake notification bars, and stuff like that. So let's have an example of a very simple command. So again, we're going to do just an alert to show an alert box. So I'm just using the search to filter. And you can see here, this will just create an alert dialog. And it's going to say Beef alert dialog. You can modify this and type in anything you want. For example, I'm going to type in test. And then when you hit execute, go on the target, and you'll see that the target got a message saying test. So this has been injected into the target browser. Another cool thing that you can do is the raw JavaScript. And this will allow you to execute any JavaScript you want. So again, you can look for Google for a useful JavaScript code, for example, a keylogger or whatever you want to do. Or you can write your own if you know JavaScript. And basically, whatever you write here will be executed on the target. Again, we're only saying an alert, and this is going to say Beef raw JavaScript. I'm going to execute. And here we go. Again, we got a dialog saying Beef raw JavaScript. Let's see if we can get a screenshot of the target computer. And we're going to use a plugin called SpiderEye, I think. Yeah, SpiderEye. So again, click on it, hit execute. Give it a second. Then we're going to click on the command here. Looks like this time didn't work properly. Let's just do it again. And here we go. As you can see, we got a screenshot of what the target person is looking at. Another really good plugin is a plugin. It's a redirect plugin. And it'll basically allow you to redirect the browser to any web page you want. This could be very useful because you can use it to redirect the target person and tell them that they need to download an update. And instead of giving them an update, give them a backdoor. You can redirect them to a fake login page, for example, for Facebook. You can really do anything you want with this. So you can set the website that you want the target to be redirected to. And we're going to redirect them to Beef Project in this example. And once you hit execute, as you can see here, they're redirected to Beef Project. These are some of the basic modules that you can use. Again, you can experiment with these, go over them, and see what would be useful in your particular situation. Okay, now let's have a look on a social engineering plugin that will allow us to steal usernames and passwords for accounts. So basically the way this works is it'll dim the screen and it'll tell the person that you got logged out of your session, so please log in to your account again so you can get authenticated. So this will allow us to bypass HTTPS, HSTS, all the security that's used by the target account page. For example, if you're trying to get username and password for Facebook, then you'll be able to bypass all the security that Facebook uses, because what you're doing is you're actually just showing a fake Facebook page. So the user will never actually get in contact with Facebook. So let's just click on this. And you'll see that you can click from here. You can click what account that you want to hijack. So let's say we're going with Facebook, and you can select what the backlight will be. So we're just leaving that at gray, and we're going to execute this. And when we go to our target, you'll see that they're being told that they got logged out of their session. So please log in with your username and password. So I'm going to put my username as Zaid. Then I'm going to put my password as 123456. Hit enter. And if we go back here, you'll see that we got our username was Zaid and the password was 123456. So you can use this to hijack a number of accounts. For example, let's just have another example. If we go with YouTube, again, you give it an execute, come back, you see the YouTube logo, and you can try to log in, put a username, password, sign in, and that'll be captured. So again, this is a really good way of gaining access to accounts, because even if the user is not planning on logging into the account that you're trying to steal, then you'll kind of force them to enter their username and password to be logged back into their account, and then you'll be able to capture the username and the password. Okay, so let's see how we can gain full control and get a Meterpreter session from the target computer. So again, we're going to go on the commands, and we're going to go on the social engineering. Now, there's actually a number of ways that you can use in here to get a reverse shell. Now, it all depends on how you want to make your social engineering attack. What we're going to use a notification bar, a fake notification bar, and we're choosing Firefox because our target runs on Firefox or are using Firefox. So what this will do, it'll basically tell the user, it'll display a notification bar telling the user that there is a new update or there is a plugin that you need to install. Once they install the plugin, then they'll actually install a backdoor and you'll gain full access to their computer. So the way we're going to do this is we're going to use the same backdoor that we always created and we've been using. Now I actually have it stored in my web server. So I have it stored in var www.html, and I have it called update.exe, but it's the same backdoor, the same reverse HTTP Meterpreter that we used before. So I'm gonna give the full address to it here. So it's stored in 10.20.14.207. That's my actual IP, and the name of the file is update.exe. And then the notification is just saying there is an additional plugin that needs to be installed to display some elements on this page. Now you can change this and just say critical update for Firefox. Click here to install. So I'm going to hit execute. And if we go on the target, you can see that they're getting a message telling them that there's a new update for Firefox and click here to download and install. So the target person will be like, oh yeah, I need to install this. So they download it. And now basically they have a backdoor downloaded on their machine. Once they try to run this backdoor to install the update, they think it's an update, but they'll actually run a backdoor which will give us full access to their computer. Before I run the backdoor, I need to listen on the port exactly like we did it before. So I'm just going to do show options here to show you. I'm not going to go through all the steps. It's using Metasploit multi-handler, same way we did it in the video of listening for ports. So we're using Meterpreter reverse HTTP. I have my IP and the port. So I'm just going to do exploit. and I'm listening for the connections now. Now let's run the update that we just downloaded.